Hello members, Duse ABUDALA, a teacher at Sunshine Christian High School. I'm here to present about COVID-19 in Uganda. I beg you to follow my presentation, so pay maximum attention and the audience that I deserve. Thank you very much. So in my presentation, slide 1 is a slide giving details about me, the presenter, and I'm none other than Duse ABUDALA, a teacher at Sunshine Christian High School, Bunarwenyi, and my email address is duseabudala@gmail.com, and my telephone number is 0773 558750. At the same time, the second number here is my WhatsApp number, so anyone who may need to get me through my WhatsApp can try me on that one. And the photo by the side here is a real description of who Duse is. The person you are listening to is this one by face. Well, I will take you to the next slide. And our slide number 2 here is saying that COVID-19 in Uganda. And therefore, the COVID-19 in Uganda, we are going to look at it by a number of things. One, we are going to look at what COVID-19 is, how does it spread, how can we prevent its spread, and the organizations that are working hand in hand to help the Ugandans in the fight against COVID-19. So on this slide here, it's telling us that COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus. In Uganda here, most people know that COVID-19 is a disease that is caused by coronavirus of 2019. It's very true, but scientifically, that coronavirus of 2019 is done according to SARS-CoV-2 virus. So it obtained its name, meaning the COVID-19 as a disease obtained its name after the scientific study in China that revealed its existence in the year 2019. Well aware, it's on record in the whole world that the first case of COVID-19 was seen in China. That's when it became a reality that China could be in the know of how this virus came into existence. Most people who fall sick with the COVID-19 will experience mild to moderate symptoms and recover without special treatment. This is very true. We saw cases also in early 2020 and late 2019. Scientists were working tirelessly to see that they come up with a real treatment for COVID-19 and a vaccine for COVID-19. But by then, people were dying simply because there was nothing like, so they were just trying here and there, and it came to be revealed that those who survived because of their immunity. So we came to realize that even without special treatment, someone can really survive. In our next slide, here I present to you the way through which COVID-19 is spread. The COVID-19 infection is transmitted by people carrying the virus. This is very true. The virus does not move, but it's you, me and you who make it move. If you acquire virus from Kampala, maybe it's where you stay or it's your workplace is, then if you make a journey to the village, say deep in Kafumita village in Maige district where my parents are, it's you who is COVID positive from Kampala that should make the COVID negative innocent parents of the said village Kafumita also acquired a disease. So the disease cannot transport itself or life from Kampala to Mayuge, but see to make it. Therefore here we say that the disease can be spread from person to person through respiratory droplets expelled from nose or mouth when a person coughs or sneezes. This is very true. If we are to sneeze and if we are to cough, let's follow the recommended way of managing the coughing and sneezing in public. Otherwise, the one person who may acquire this at the end of the day may be able to spread to a number of people, and in the due course you find the entire community in quarantine. So next point here is saying us that these droplets can persist for some time on objects or surfaces around the person in question. This is very true. If you are COVID-19 positive and you happen to share how to make use of a cup, then that cup that you used, if another person uses it in a nearby future or in a few hours from the time that you used, that person, his or her chances of getting the COVID-19, acquiring it, is really above 90%. Therefore, you are advised not to share anything, even when you're not certain of whether the person who has used it is not positive or is not negative. Don't just share. If you have to share, then sanitize the surfaces. Say for example, at home where we have switches, the doors, and many other things that we do share with some other people. After use, make sure you sanitize to secure the life of another person that may use after you. Then we said an infection with COVID-19 can occur if you touch your eyes, nose or mouth. On the entire body system, the COVID-19 is only interested on and only 3 parts. It can attack you from either your mouth, your eyes or your nose. Therefore, if we are to get rid of these, let's be very sensitive as we do our touches on any of the theory mentioned. That's why we say that the best way, one of the recommended ways of avoiding this is to put on masks. However, I would also borrow a leaf from the president of this country, His Excellency Uganda, who said in the fight against this COVID-19, Ugandans should revise the ways, should make one hand public. That means can be used for shaking hands with the others and some other things, but another hand private for touching some of these private parts that we are making of private before COVID is the eyes and the nose and the mouth. Well, when we go on, my next slide is reading or giving us the ways on how to prevent the spread of COVID-19. And here we see below it that they practice the following. Well, practice the following. 1. Let us wear a mask at all times while in public. This is very, very, very important. However, when we are wearing masks, you need to mask that one in public. If you are alone in your vehicle, if you are alone in you are the only person in your room, why should you put on a mask? This mask here is intended to protect the dots from you to another person, or from another person to you. So if you are alone in your own room, if you are alone in a vehicle, if you are alone in a place, you are free to put on. However, whenever you go to the public, you are advised to put on full mask. Thus, the mask should cover the eyes, no, not the eyes really, sorry, but should cover your mouth and your nose, respectively. Thank you. Next, wash hands with soap regularly. No matter whether you use liquid soap, whether you use bar soap, whether you use whichever kind of soap, make sure whenever you touch a surface, wash hand before you go away. This is because the virus is too heavy and it's too fatty. So because it's fat and oily, if you subject it to a detergent like a soap, it cannot survive. So it will die, hence reducing its spread rate. Next is to maintain a safe distance, or what we call social distance, from others at least 1 meter. Looking at this picture here, up here, this clip, if these 3 people are in a line, then the recommended distance from this person 1 to person 2 should not be less than 1 meter. It should be a distance of 1 meter and above. From this person to another person, also the same should be from this person to another person here. Should also be at least 1 meter distance. So if you go to places where we have a quiz, like at the banking hall, you are lining before the ATM machine, make sure give yourself a distance 1 meter from the neighbor, or from the person in front of you and the one behind you. Then get vaccinated when it is your turn. Yeah, you remember in our country, Uganda, the president gave a directive that all teachers in the country should be vaccinated. Most teachers thought maybe the president is just against the teachers, but it's not really. Otherwise, it would be better for all Ugandans to get vaccinated, because it's one of now the current perfect method of controlling the spread of COVID-19. Then sanitize all surfaces and your hands regularly. This has been mentioned. Sanitizers, we have many brands on the market, but the cheapest sanitizer that any person can afford, whether in the village or in the town, is soap. Use detergents like liquid soap. However, we have these other sanitizers that are made up of alcohol as a biggest high percentages. Sanitize as recommended by the Ministry of Health. Stay home if you feel unwell. If you don't have any big reason as to why you should go to the public, stay home, work from home, embrace the ICT tools that you can even be off your office, but technologically there. I would advise you to, you and your institution is to really get ways of reaching out to your job, reaching out to your clients digitally to safeguard your own life. The next thing is that if you, however, Even if you have ever, no, if you have fever, cough, and difficulty in breathing, then seek for medical attention. This is very, very important. Avoid self-medication. It's a common practice by many Ugandans that whoever you feel sick, however you feel weak, you rush to a nearby health center and you say, get me Panadol, get me this, no, get me painkiller. Painkiller, you are not really technical in that field. So your life matters. Your life is your life. One person quoted it that the country loves you, but it can do without you. So make sure you attach value to your own life. Always visit a technical person, or we call a medical worker, for anything to do with fever, cough, or difficulty in breathing. You never know, it could be COVID-19, but not necessarily that is the only disease that is associated with these ones. That's why we advise you to go to the technical person. Well, when we go to the next slide, we see the organizations in Uganda that can be contacted in case one is identified to be having COVID-19. And here is a list that contacts any of the following. One is the Ministry of Health at this address here, showed here. And when I say Ministry of Health, I may not really mean that I'm at the top only, no. Ministry of Health has ladders right from Local Council 1, the LC 1, where we expect to have the VHT. We have the Center 2, the Center 3, up to the level of Malago, the National Referral Hospital. So make sure you use any of those lines, approach them for any help. Then we have living goods. Living goods, this is an NGO operating in Uganda, mostly in the eastern region of the country. So within its area of jurisdiction, it's very, very helpful. It has helped the government in supporting the victims of the COVID-19. Then we have the Human Rights Organization, whose address is also here. It's also operating in some parts of the country and is very supportive in the prevention of COVID-19 spread in the country. We have the UNICEF at HTTP, that one there is also very, very, very important. Therefore, in conclusion, my colleagues and whoever is listening to this presentation and watching, allow me to say that COVID-19 is real. It kills. That is curable. Therefore, once you test positive, don't get worried. Many have get lived even after that second chance for you. People are working hard to see that your life is really protected. So rush for vaccine, be facilite. Whether you're a teacher or not a teacher, I advise to rush for vaccination. Thank you for listening. And the audience, once again, I'm Duse ABUDALA, a teacher at Sunshine Christian High School. Thank you very much. Once